Go over here.
I head to the main branch of the Atlanta Library downtown and take a seat. So Doug McCown, right? Has decided to help us. He is the reference librarian here, and he's actually found the Atlanta Journal-Constitution from February 18, 1979. That's the paper and the day where the recipe supposedly was published on page 2B. And sure enough, a quick search finds the story. So this article that was written by Charles Salter basically talks how the author had an encounter with a gentleman, a pharmacist, who had an old ledger. And in that ledger, supposedly, was the recipe for Coca-Cola. And here is a photograph, if I move it over. And it may not show up too well on camera, but listed here are all the ingredients, supposedly, for Coca-Cola. But could that really be the recipe? That led me to my next stop. Since Atlanta is home to the world headquarters of Coca-Cola, we thought, well, what better place to come to start looking for answers? Phil, how long have you been a historian with Coca-Cola?
I've been here 33 years.
In a courtyard, I meet a man who knows a lot about Coke's past. Is the secret of Coca-Cola, the recipe, is it here?
Well, it's actually not in our headquarters building. It's actually in a vault in the SunTrust Bank.
That's in downtown Atlanta. And Phil says only a handful of executives actually know the recipe. He's very familiar with the 1979 Atlanta Journal article. Is that the formula for Coca-Cola?
No, it's not. The formula for Coca-Cola is probably the most closely guarded secret in the history of American commerce.
Phil says every couple of years somebody claims to have an old document believing it's the recipe for the original Coke, only it's not. He says what they are early attempts from the 1900s when others tried to replicate the recipe. In other words, they are cola recipes, but they are not the real thing. Of course, I figured Phil wouldn't tell me even if it was the real recipe. My real shock came when I talked to marketing professor Doug Bowman, who said it may or may not be the real recipe, but it doesn't really matter at all.
I don't think we'll ever know if it's really the recipe, and I don't think Coke really cares. Coke is selling a lifestyle brand. They're selling refreshment. They're selling happiness.
In other words, that Coke is just way more than a list of ingredients on an old piece of paper. It is, in fact, a way of life for many of us. It's a brand. By the way, that story was actually first brought to light, at least about the newspaper article, by a radio program called This American Life. They actually took the recipe and turned it into some sort of soft drink and then tried it on people. Most said it did not taste like Coca-Cola. It would seem the recipe's safe. Martin Savage, CNN, Atlanta.